Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to simplify radicals with variables. We have the cube root of 27 x to the 6 times y times z squared. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and give me the prime factors of 27, which is 3 times 9. And we know that the factors of 9 is 3 times 3. And when we're trying to find the cube root, we're actually looking for a group of 3. And we notice that we have a group of 3. So the cube root of 3 to the power 3 is just going to be 3. Okay? Now we have x to the 6. And x to the 6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply x times x times x. That's one group of x to the third power. And of course, we have x times x times x. All together, we have x to the 6. So what is a cube root of x to the 6? Well, we have x times x. You notice that y, we don't have enough to make a group, so we have to leave that in the radical. Z squared, we don't have enough because it's only z times z, so we have to leave that in the radical. So what is this going to simplify? The cube root of 3, the cube root of 3 to the third is 3. The cube root of x to the third is x. And since we have another group, it's going to be x squared. And then this amount right here, we couldn't factor it out, or we couldn't take it out, so it's going to be cube root of y times z squared. For this example, we're once again trying to find the fourth root of 32a squared, b to the fourth, and c to the 11th. Go ahead and do your factor tree. So you have 2 times 16, 2 times 8, 2 times 4, and then 2 times 2. And remember that we're looking for groups of 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So what will be the fourth root of that group is just going to be 2. And that goes on the outside. What about this 2? Well, it wasn't part of that group, so that's going to have to stay in the radical. So let me write fourth root. This one was outside the group, so it stays in the radical. Now remember, when we're talking about variables, we're looking for groups of 4. Well, a times a does not make a group of 4, so you leave it in the radical, a squared. You see b to the fourth, that makes a group of 4. So you're going to take out one of them, so it's going to be b. And let me go ahead and erase it here. So it's going to be b. And of course, that's all we had. We had one group of 4. Now c to the 11th, we almost had 3 groups because 4 times 3 is 12. But in this case, we only had 2 groups of c. So we're going to say c squared. And we did have a remaining amount of c's. Remember, we have, let's say, c times c times c times c, c times c times c times c, c times c times c. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's our 2 groups. So we have one group of 4. So we take out a c, and then we take out another c, so that's c squared. And you notice we're left with 3 c's, so it's going to be c to the third power. So that's what it's going to simplify to. In this example, we're going to simplify the square root of 28x squared, y to the fifth, and z to the third power. If we have a number like that in the radical, then we're going to go ahead and do our factor tree. So we have 2 times 14, because 2 times 14 is 28. 14 is 2 times 7. We know that the index is 2 because it's a square root. So we're looking for groups of 2, and we notice that we have a group of 2 here. So the square root of 4, or square root of 2 to the second power, is 2. Now the question is, what do we do with the 7? Well, we didn't have another 7. We couldn't make a group, so that's going to stay in the radical. So 7 stays in the radical. The next variable that we have to deal with is x times x. And we notice that we have a pair because the index is 2. We're trying to find the root. So it's going to be x. Y to the fifth is interesting. We have y times y. That's a group. Y times y. That's another group. Now, we do have a y that's left over. So we have y times y. That's the square root of y is y. The square root of y squared is y. And then we have two groups. So it's y times y, which is y squared. Now, this y will have to stay in the radical. We have z to the third power, which is going to be z times z times z. So you notice that we have one group here, which is z squared. So the square root of z squared is z. What do we do with this z? It stays in the radical. So what is the square root of 28x squared y to the fifth z to the third power simplified to? X 2xy squared times z times the square root of 7yz. So when you're trying to simplify radicals, you need to understand the index, because the index or the root will tell you how to make up these groups. And that's how you will be able to simplify the expression.